Karuna. It's really nice to see you after so long and get to online. But, I know it's always pleasure to meet and thank you, Smita also and Akash for meeting me. I've been meeting Akash regularly in Tirumurti these days. So thank you to him also. And Akash, could you tell me how much time I have?
So there is no time constraint, as much time you want to take, please take. It is depend on your lecture.
Okay, because I believe there will be some queries or observations later on. Maybe we can put some time to that also if impacted. I'll start maybe around 45 minutes and then we can decide. Jamim all. One more thing. Am I clear? My voice is clear. Hello. Is it?
Professor, it's not clear.
My
It's
voice
not
is
clear. No, it's not clear.
because uh, okay. So I'm my camera. Hello.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
Now it's okay, but we need your no video also.
Okay. So I'm rejoining with my mobile because
Yeah, sure,
I'm
sure,
at a
sure.
remote place and there is a problem.
Yeah, sure, sure.
So I'm rejoining with my mobile. I'm leaving this for a second and I'll rejoin with mobile.
So your mic is off.
Professor More, how are you? Yeah, it's long. Yeah, it's good to see you. Mike, unmute.
Yeah, Jai Bhim dear, somebody had sent
Yes.
to me,
Ah,
so I am too pleased to join, and now Raj Kumar is ready, I think. Please.
yeah. Please, yeah, yeah.
Bore,
Yeah, dear. Yeah, go ahead.
fine. So, in Poona Pact, as we know, one immediately not only after so that it becomes one of the point with position clear and to my mind that was the point where Baba took a pressure. Baba doesn't know to deal.
No, your video and voice is both are no breaking.
No voice, sir. Uh, it's a very remote location. Hello. So, Poona Pact, as we know today, switch my video and with one. So, Poona Pact, as we know today, and the kind of impact has on our movement for last now it's 94 years is, I would say, phenomenal. The importance or the effect or negative, we'll understand it later. But going to the pact itself, going to the we have, let me begin with a small introduction to the whole process. Um, in 1909, when first time, I was the first beneficiary of that development. Later on, this representation was extended to Christians and the Sikhs in 1919. And 1919, South Committee came and Baba Sahab came on the stage and first time they articulated our position and wanted political representation and the tribals or the oppressed such. But representation was and some nominations, of course, were allowed. But with the Simon Commission coming to India and Baba Sahab making a very strong case for our representation, but even because Congress and others were opposing our stance and did not take a clear this worked as a background for Britishers calling Indians or the stakeholders to roundtable conference in London, and then Dr. Ambedkar as one of the important representatives of the communities went there, and probably it was here in 1930, first conference in 1930. If I remember, somewhere in 1939 and 20th November, he made one of the most important speeches about untouchables and their case and taking not only the Indian or the casteist Hindu system, but even he was lamenting also that they have done to the cause of untouchable in nothing. And that was something which actually introduced and in that meeting, Baroda Naresh was also he was also present when Dr. Ambedkar was making his presentation, and later on he commented that scholarship Ambedkar the kind of caliber, the kind you justified his scholarship, and he was it was first time our case was discussed, the case of untouchables, tribals world over, and people came to that people are living here, not only having food, not having clothes, not having shelter, not even having proper drinking water. That way, it became very clear to the world that this case is but nothing much could be done because I did not attend this conference. Congress boycott. And in December 31, second roundtable conference was focal point where Gandhi and had that monumental confrontation where Gandhi wanted to impose leadership or his he was saying that he represents the full India. Baba Sahib was very clear that he is representing a specific political party and few interests, not the whole Muslims were there, the Christians were there, and Baba by this time has already made up his mind and he was articulating the position we very well know. We are not part of the whole. We are part. हम लोग उस सो कॉल्ड ब्राह्मण हिंदू मोनोलिथ का पार्ट नहीं है बल्कि अपनी हमारी एक स्वतंत्र clearly Baba उन्नीस लंदन में articulate करते और because he was one of the most learned person of that time, politically conscious. Therefore, Gandhi had no answer to his articulation, his scholarly understanding. That since of course, the most prominent political figure from India representing the Congress and other interests. That way, a decision could not be taken. And what was confrontation? The confrontation was about, in fact, if you remember, in one commission memorandum, Baba Sahab was not articulating for electorates. Next 2 3 years, he became very conscious, very clear that unless we have independent independent political representation, would be achieved. Therefore, he yeah, his stance very clear and says we need separate electorates which to the kind of conspiracies, the kind of calculations Gandhi tried to have the Muslims with Sikh representatives, and somehow there was total deadlock and nothing decided upon because Gandhi was hell bent upon saying that he represented untouchables also, he represented tribals also. We know from different parts and uh, they were represented. Some people wrote letters to and letters written in their blood. So it became very clear, and we know problem Gandhi was having. There was later on it was revealed that whatever support he was having, whatever terms were given from a few places and mask kind of a thing. So it was total forgery thing. But Ambedkar's Baba Sahib's supporters starts making it clear that he is our sole representative, and uh, nothing could be achieved, and it was decided upon that Ramsey, it was timeless of that point of time, will ultimately take off. And, this agreement that was signed by so he was first and then the 1931 went to other European countries, and especially he wrote another letter. He wrote another letter to Ramsay MacDonald saying that, okay, I don't want separate electorates uh, because it is opposed to, or Gandhi is opposed. Let's take another step, and he introduced actually the idea of electorates. That was a letter written by him somewhere in, I think, February or something, February 1932 to Ramsey, to Prime Minister England, and that talked about special electorates, neither electorate nor separate electorates, but special electorates, which talks about two. Gandhi was saying vote separately and there will be separate. Says okay, in one vote will be the tribal will be voting together, so there will be a joint electorate, and they will have their own independent political representation where untouchables and the tribes will only vote for their candidates, people from these communities. So the proposal sent by to in 1932 March or February from meanwhile, emphasize here, they constituted a committee. They committee verified the claims of both Ambedkar and Gandhi, and this committee was known as Lothian Committee. Lothian Committee is one of the most forgotten like development in Syria. What Lothian Committee was supposed to do was to various themes. They came in April 1932. Remained here for 3 months, and they all more important parts of the country, and this was the time when Gandhi and Congress unleashed a propaganda or sort of tried to achieve the mandate, creating many temples were opened to the untouchables at that point of time. Many so-called sadhus were organized, and there was a which was very vicious. There was a campaign that, especially in North India, there was a particular campaign theme which was used that Ambedkar to Mars. This created a lot of confusion. Then people, another important thing was there that with this committee, Lothian committee, people were giving their preferences. They were giving their preferences and they were identifying themselves. Many of the untouchable communities refused to identify themselves as untouchables and they wanted to belong to this. I'll give you some examples. If you go to, say, Madhya Pradesh, I can narrate here. In Madhya Pradesh, the Dhoot community, the Saman, they identified themselves as Raj. Whereas in Uttar Pradesh, they identified themselves as untouchables. In Odisha, they identified themselves as Sudras. So they were later on. The same happened with so many communities like Patels, even Gus, even Marathas, who were Sudras. They identified at that point of time themselves as Sudras. It was 1932, 1931, when identifying themselves Sudras, the untouchables and identify themselves as Kshatriyas, they were removed from the gambit. And a lot of or this committee was not deceived and they recommended kind of stand ambitious that there is an untouchability, discrimination. Not only they are being oppressed, but they are being denied all their own rights. And this gave a recommendation in 1930, June 32, and then we have Baba Sahab was lobbying. He was talking to other important in England leaders, and then ultimately this award declaration was 20th August 1932. And Ramsay MacDonald accepted Dr. Ambedkar's proposition that neither separatists nor joint electorates as advised special electorates. And these special electorates, if I take 1 minute on explaining this special electorate which Ambedkar was given, and those tribals were given two votes. One, so each constituency which is reserved will be having representations or two elected representatives, one from the general constituency which includes the reserve constituency border and another exclusively for the reserve degree there. So, the second vote which is more important, where the untouchable neighbors will be deciding fate of the general candidate. So that way they will be coming to us, will be asking what is the issue, but no, at on August this was declared. It made Gandhi mad. He lost his balance and he was saying, on my right part. And such a person who was talking about and speak statement to the untouchable party. He threatened, he led us ultimately on 20th September 1932, he started fast unto death, was the most violent act committed against the untouchables and the tribals. Baba Sahib said so. This was the most coercive violence. But this fast create those are supposed to be non-violent act that it is violent condition in the country. Akash became sort of everybody who became interest. And persons, what we call in Sanskrit, Sam, Dam, and Bhed, everything is used. Baba Sahib, he was forced, yes. He recognized it later, and this was not an agreement, goodwill, it was an agreement where he has stated that politics is the uh, art of possibilities. And the kind of environment, the violent created by this fast, where Gandhi, and I would agree with that, Gandhi was so honest to the God believe in. He made this point very clear that for Hinduism I will sacrifice my life. Because he was thinking that untouchables will lose, or the Hindus or the caste Hindus will lose their free laborers, their oppressed class. So that way he sort of gambled his life, and we all know in kind of situations where Baba Sahib had to accept the Poona Pact, which took away, means in a sentence which very summarily Baba Sahab made this statement कि लंदन से मैं अपने लोगों के लिए फल लेके आया था, लंदन से अपने लोगों के लिए फल लेके आया था, गांधी ने अपने लोगों को उस फल का जूस पिलाया और उस छिलके मेरे लोगों के मुंह. This was the statement made by Asai. And we all know the kind of repercussions it has. It was a sheer forced agreement. Though we know there were around 23 signatories to it, and later on Gandhi also approved it. Person like MC Raja, P. Balu, Sivrasan, and Gavai Saab, G. Gavai Saab, they were the signatories from the oppressed communities, and then mostly person like Madan Mal, Durusru, and G.D. Birla, these fellows were representing the Hindu or the Dhamnical interest, and most of them Brahmins. So it was in untouchables and the Brahmins. And it sealed the future, the tribals. That way, Baba Sahab recently talked about that it was a monumental blunder. He used the monumental blunder. Because things could have things, what actually when we this agreement or this act in 1932 it was done, and then we 1936 annihilation of caste, then we have 1945 what Congress and Gandhi have done to the untouchables. In fact, Gandhi have the untouchables was kind of a review of the Poona Pact. Review of the Poona Pact, how it has worked, because in 1935 or 1935 Government of India, Poona Pact was first introduced. We had elections in 1936, and then in 1942, and 1945, Baba Sahib wrote this book about Congress and Gandhi have done to the untouchables. In fact, इसका हिंदी जो है, हम लोग कभी कभी कहते हैं कि कांग्रेस और गांधी ने क्या किया, अछूत क्या, लेकिन ये है कांग्रेस और गांधी ने अछूत का क्या कर दिया, उनको क्या बना दिया, उनको कैसे विकसित कर दिया, उनको कैसे खत्म किया. They have done to the untouchables. What they have done to untouchable rights. So किया को क्या किया जो है थोड़ा न्यूट्रल सा नजर आता है, but the emphasis is not on neutrality. Very they have been decimated. They have been demolished. Their interest has finished. The title itself is very powerful. So these two important books. First is this Annihilation of is kind of a philosophical, political, ideological to the theme, because where he says no reforms, it can only be destroyed. The Hinduism or the Brahmanism can only be destroyed. Where he made a famous statement: सब कुछ संभव है लेकिन जहर को अमृत नहीं बनाया जा सकता. A poison cannot be transformed into, so it can be inhibited, it can only be destroyed. Caste system cannot be reformed. Very much clear, because he has seen kind of problem from 1932 onwards. Though he promised that yes, these things will be done, but nothing could be far from truth. That he was deceived, and that is why Gandhi is humbug. Humbug means one who talks very sweetly, stab you in the back. So that way, he became very clear. This actually Poona Pact made Baba Sahab, I would say, revolt against average, which was dominating, which was oppressing. He became real revolutionary, the social revolutionary, the political revolutionary, and kind of books or tell their own stories. One thing which I would try to emphasize on this Poona Pact, when Ram declared it, it has one component that is political representation. Political representation through the electorate, but later on it was agreed upon, because MacDonald himself says that if Dr. agrees, then he has problem, but if he doesn't agree, then it is the final thing and we will not reconsider it. But we know all it was done. So that in provincial legislatures where there were some 71 or 72 were allocated to the untouchables, doubled 148 to Baba 198 seats, but was curtailed down to 148. In central legislature, 19% seats for the untouchables. So that was clear. And another important aspect was that it was a political representation which was there in the initial communal act. Baba Sahib, through his farsightedness and his acumen, was able to insert another provision, Part D of the Poona Pact. Part A, which talks about political representation, Part B, which talks about representation in jobs, in services, and part B about educational development and economic development. And it was in part B where job reservation was ensured, and it was in part B, part A where education reservation in education was ensured, and also here special scheduled caste component plans. A specific budget allocation for the and the tax was part of the Poona Pact, which was inserted by Baba Sahib, other than the political representation. So what we are having or not having, we have as procedural things. So I think with his effectiveness, he was able to introduce two more important, or I would say, economic, educational, as well as service provisions to the Poona Pact, and from here the things started. Now, and say after 10 years they were supposed to be in fact it was 15 years, wanted a referendum, that there should be a referendum, and he was very sure that he will not be abolished in 15 years, so it will continue, and but there may be a review. And another important aspect of this pact was that when election take place, it will be on, there will be two phases. One, primary election, and second will be general election or the final election. Primary election will have candidates, whichever, everybody from the reserve, anybody can contest the elections, and people will, untouchables will vote for that. So it was basically untouchables or tribals voting for touchables and the tribal candidates. This was called primary election. Top four. Baba Sahib voted two. That top two election. Gandhi proposed five, a panel of five people, first, second, third, fourth, five, who have votes, and only those five should be allowed to contest the election. Ultimately, on four candidates, it was agreed upon, and four topmost scheduled tribes vote seekers will be contesting in the general election. What happened in 1936 and 1940? Baba Sahib made very thorough study. In fact, the psychologists should study this book, especially from this point of view also. Say these four candidates, first candidate got 60% seat, second candidate got 30% seat votes, third person candidate got 15%, the fourth person got 5% votes. So the arithmetic is the person who is on number four has least support from the untouchables or the tribals. Who has got 60% has got the most support. But when these four people were going to the general election, including the caste Hindus, will be voting. But in these two elections, the person who got least votes was elected. And untouchables gave only 5 votes, 5%. He was given 4 votes by the caste Hindus, and therefore he was always winning. So Baba Sahib that Poona Pact has actually disenfranchised untouchables. How disenfranchised? Because getting elected, person whom untouchables or tribals wanted to elect is invariably losing the election, and the person who is not at all representing untouchables, may be representing 5-10% until he is darling of the caste Hindus, he is puppet of the Hindus. Baba Sahib used the word instrument, he used the word muzzle dogs, and Asiram Sahib used the word chapchas. So these people who were having just percent votes, invariably they were getting elected. Those became totally frustrated, and that is no going. In fact, in 1943 itself, he says, "I want settlements, separate settlements." What is separate settlements? That untouchables, tribals were, of course, living in majority areas, many of the tribal communities. But the untouchable situation in his community was problematic. Problematic in a sense, they were always 10%, 5%, 3% at the most, and maybe very few villages where they were in a good number. Always all the minority untouchable communities to we wanted settlements of leave the village to the share, and you will be Nagpur because Nagpur so powerful from the people's point of view. Lot of people from the nearby areas left their villages and came to Nagpur. Same way, Uttar Pradesh. Same way, Uttar Pradesh. Same way, near in Kashmir. So it became kind of it became hub of the or important case is Chennai. A lot of people left their places, came to these areas. So he was really frustrated because the fact has sort of created kind of absolute उन वोट को पूरी तरीके से बेमाना कर दिया, बेमतलब दिया, कोई मतलब नहीं। आज भी आप जानते हैं कि पिछले 1932 से ही हम इसको लेंगे, तो 1932 लेके अब तक 96 इयर्स में we failed to elect our genuine leaders. बाबा साहब से सिर्फ विधानसभा में या लोकसभा में पहुंचना ही जरूरी नहीं है, बल्कि जेन्युइन क्रेडिबल लीडरशिप चाहिए। हमें वो लोग नहीं चाहिए जो वहां पे जाके, ये उन्हीं का फ्रेज है कि जो लोग जम्बाई लेने के लिए मुंह खोलते हैं अपना, या यस कहने के लिए मुंह खोलते हैं। वी नीड स्ट्रॉन्ग लीडरशिप। स्ट्रॉन्ग लीडरशिप कैसे आएगा? जब आपके पास कोई भी बंदा जो इनफैक्ट वी हैव सीन in this election is 2019 election, 2024 election. One of my neighbor constituency, Bulandshahr, contesting, sitting on the floor, his own glass. And the people are getting elected because they are untouchable celebrities, representative of the parties, and this created what fair representation was supposed to be. So, two important take up from here: independent political representation was lost, genuine leadership was lost, and it created a subordinate, dependent political leadership. Always dependent on, which is always looking for favor from others. Because even if you say 20%, say the scheduled castes are 20% in a particular constituency, even if they are united, 100% united, to get their vote, candidate elected, because 80% will not favor these 20% are support, because that person will be very assertive, that person may be, that person very knowledgeable. So the caste would never like a person, a effective genuine leadership. Therefore they are choosing their own pygmies, they are choosing their own puppets whom they can play as they wish, as they so going by this assessment, and it takes 50 years of Poona Pact. It was 92. Another important event happened because of assessing what Poona Pact has done to the untouchables, ultimately in the line of Baba Sahab, in the line of arguments everybody is having. In fact, if you remember that from Party of India, including Baba Sahab himself, there was talk of political representation or doing away with the political reservations, because they were not only effective leadership, but they were creating puppets. They were creating kind of people who are misleading their communities. Uh, in 1982, an important event happened. Uh, some of you are aware that Manav Kasiram Sahab wrote a book called HIAs. On 24th September 1982, this book was released, and he called this period as dark age in democracy. And then he says from darkness to enlightenment. And what was coming to the way out? What is the way out? How we go about this? So he says, पूना पैक्ट का धिक्कार नहीं करना है. पूना पैक्ट का धिक्कार नहीं करना है. धिक्कार इज ए नेगेटिव टर्मिनोलॉजी. वी हैव टू ब्रिंग सोल्यूशन. हमें इससे आगे का रास्ता चूज करना होगा. हमें आगे देखना होगा कि भाई क्या हमारे पास विकल्प है, कैसे इससे पार पाया जा सकता है. एंड देन इट इज द ऑप्रेस्ड must come together. They must have their social alliance, because the caste victims may be of different scale. Because of great inequality, but the victims are victims, and therefore these victims must come together and have unified front against the Brahminics. And that is the kind of theoretical proposition he proposed. And idea of the idea is something which actually, and in fact, what I'm saying, you go through, especially person like Jafar Lord or Gail Umbel, because extensively on this idea, and they have covered Bahujan Smash Party also. So, the idea of Bahujan was revolutionary in many ways. Why it is name changing? In fact, it is it was a unique, explosive idea. In a one stroke, a mythological monolith. When I say mythological monolith or mythological Hindu monolith, nothing like Hindu majority. versus 15%. So those who were claiming to be representative of the majority Hindu majority, by this side became minority in themselves. 50%. And this became for last, say, up to now, almost 40 years or 42 years, this has become talk of the town. Everybody has taken it. Right now, it has become one of the most important challenge to communism. To the it is important proposition here comes that this project Ambedkarite Periyar philosophy. It will be led by Phule Ambedkar, Periyar, and others philosophy with Birsa and Doka's revolutionary activism. So it integrates challenge posed in different parts of the country to the Brahmanism, to the caste hegemony. Person say Krishna Vadiyar, one of the most rulers, the kind of a philosopher king. So who became not or at most state movement, but it became kind of a. But what he was proposing that we must play the game they are playing in reserve constituency, we must play the same game in general constituencies. How you play this game in general constituency? Suppose we have percent untouchables in a particular constituency, which is constituency. Here you give a ticket. Say a person like Azamgarh was one of the earlier constituencies which we won to a prominent leader. Yadav, few because BSP is or the new challenging party is a very new party, not come with but 20% untouchables were like rock solid. Plus 5-10% others, few percent that enough because the fight is triangular or foreign. And that way, if you are getting 35% votes, then you are a winning candidate. It happened in many constituencies, and you will be surprised that in most of the constituencies where BSP won in their early elections, say before 2017 and 2007, they were general constituencies, not reserve constituencies. Because we started playing the game, playing this with better mechanism, better strategy. Like remembering the Arjun Singh, the tall leader who was chief minister, he was defeated by a BSP candidate in 1792, I believe, or 91, I think 91, or somewhere around. It became a very important strategy. And that way, not just a political strategy, he says building political party is very easy. Building Bahujan Samaj is the real thing. And then he brought Phule, then he brought Birsa, then he brought Periyar, then Ramaswamy, then 200 almost dignitaries who fought against the social or Brahminical hegemony in different parts of the country. That's 200 this Bahujan discourse was created. Though not necessarily a national, of course, a party was also created, a national party was created in 1996 itself. But the kind of political pressure has not that apart. We need to understand this philosophy or we need to understand this mechanism. Okay, to be smarter than them. Baba Sahib says their best. And then only things started moving up. If you see the 90s, they were that was the era when the OBCs started playing the game. They started playing political role. They are playing now, and all parties started giving, especially in it was Congress was the last. BJP also gave so much space to the OBCs, and then Congress also. Everybody is doing that, but in between this for the Bahujan is and some of them are making a kind of a becoming an identity. No, Bahujan is not an identity, and identity you cannot define. So, but Bahujan has to be an ideological consolidating force. It is means you cannot say a person who is a good community, which is an OBC committee, on the same plank with Jyotiba Phule or yeah, because they belong because ideology is important. So that way, not just anybody who is from SPC becomes part of the whole philosophy. No, he or she has to be convinced of Ambedkarite perspective. Then only that person becomes. So the consciousness of being Bahujan is important. Is the effective mechanism is not only the problem we faced in Poona Pact or after Poona Pact, and I'll just give another example. There was very successfully played in 2006. I studied for my PhD, in fact. You know, it was first time that BSP got 69% of seats in reserve constituency. 69%. Or maybe more than that, it was more than 70%. There were 69 seats and more than 70% of the total. So this was a strategy they brought Muslims, they brought some of the OBCs, some of the important communities, and that way it became a powerful tool to. So to my mind, this is something which needs to be taken. I come to the concluding part, which is more important to us as researchers, scholars, and that is Pune Part A. Let's talk about Pune Part. Part B. Part B, which talks about education and jobs, services, reservation in education and services. What is happening or has been happening in part A? Puppets, was are called muzzled dog, जिनके मुंह पे जाली लगी हुई है. Muzzled dog, other ninjas, stooges that very dangerously, that trained very dangerously is coming to the part B also. The beneficiary of the reservations. The beneficiary of the reservation, not just political reservation, but beneficiary of the service reservation, beneficiary of the educational reservations, or many of them are becoming their डमरू उनका डमरू पिला कर रहे हैं उनकी चरण वंदना कर रहे हैं now they are two days on one. It happened in 50s and 60s to a limited extent because that time people did not have bit validity, little bit recognition. Person like Nanduram has written a limited elite or the scheduled class elite. He recently passed away. My tributes to him. I remember he used the term limbo or limited elite. So these limited elite wanted to have some kind of a share or some kind of recognition in 50s and 60s. Uh, but when 70s we have political movement or socio-cultural movements like Dalit Panthers or Vamsef or Bahujan Samaj Party, then this movement was this going to Brahmanism for government employees, they were became either neutral or became in Bahujan movement or Dalit movement or scheduled caste movement. But for last 20 years or so, we are seeing an rise our second wave of Brahmanism is coming, and many of our officers, many of our bureaucrats, many of our social activists, many of our even bhikkhus, they are going to Brahmanism. They are touching their feet, using all kind of superstitious thing, and this is second wave of second wave of Brahmanization, which is taking place. For last 30 years or so, many of us, especially in universities, we have entered into a reservation is almost, I would say, almost failed. At least at assistant professor level, at the professor level, assistant professor level also, there is a substantial number. And we have been making a substantial dent to the Brahmanism. We are challenging their philosophy, we are challenging their history, we are talking about their history, their culture, their identity. Not just so, India's identity, India culture, Indian philosophy, and they are afraid, and therefore they have started recruiting our so-called intellectuals, which Baba Sahab called a person without character. An educated person without character is a wild beast. Wild beast, worse than a wild beast. So intellectual is very important. I'm sure intellectuals, especially our youngsters, will learn lesson from what has happened to the in politics, in other areas. Same happen to the self-seekers, selfish individuals who at the community trying to compromise our kind of interest that we as teachers, as researchers in our classroom, in our lectures, in our research papers, books, articles, or our public lectures will continue to have Baba Sahab's and our forefathers' philosophy and make a sustained, powerful, strong case for Prabhupada, which Brother Karunyakara is making all the time. Right? So, intellectuals have a very important role to play. We must come out of the Brahminical dispensation, Brahminical ideology. With this, I end my talk. Maybe if there are issues, we can discuss. Thank you very much.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for a wonderful lecture. Now I request our chair, Professor Leela Karunyakara, sir, to please give his comment.
Uh, Professor Dr. Raj Kumar is very well known to me for a long period, and we are in fact, personally related to each other for so many years. We were together in Jawaharlal Nehru University, and after that also we maintained very personal relations, very familial relations. Instead, it's not a more than personal. We are we maintained very family level relations, known to each other, to the both the families, and very vocal. Dr. Rajkumar, since the days of Jawaharlal Nehru University, I could see him that very vocal and very firm in his opinion and his views. And to my best understanding, all over India, if I search for a person, a thinker or a scholar who could speak authentically on Poona Pact, so he is the best one and number one on the subject of Poona Pact. So that's why I requested Dr. Rajkumar to give a lecture on the Poona Pact. Since he is well versed in not only a theoretical understanding of the Poona Pact, as well as practically he observed how the Poona Pact made effect on the politics of the Bhujan Samaj Party, as well as scheduled castes, and how it has been for so many years impacted through the Congress politics and at present day through the BJP politics. So how it is being Poona Pact is being working, sometimes giving a space to scheduled castes, and sometimes working in a detrimental direction to the scheduled castes. So I'm really thankful to Dr. Rajkumar. You have wonderful. It's a wonderful lecture, but unfortunate that if had we could see your face while expressing, that would have given much impact over the scholars. However, the lecture is very very meaningful and thoughtful lecture. I appreciate Dr. Raj. You are there, and I'm certain that
Thank you, brother.
yeah, I'm certain that all the participants would have certainly benefited. This is a forgotten topic. In fact, the topic is very relevant. Even today, it's relevant. It's going to be relevant, even in the coming years. But it's a forgotten topic. Unfortunately, the topic which is more relevant but less talked about. So they and it's my firm belief that you are the best person to speak on it in all over India. In all over India, among all faculty members whom I know. So in all the universities, when my student scholar that Mr. Shreyat suggested me, sir, we need one lecture on Poona Pact. Then I was thinking about who could be the best person. So I thought that nobody else except the Dr. Raj Kumar is the best person to deliver a lecture on the Poona Pact. So I approached you, and thank you very much for giving a lecture on that's a wonderful topic. Very, very valuable topic. Thank you, Raj Kumar.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Nothing like that. We know. So it has been, brother, 34 years or so. I joined in 92. So since then, and thank you very much for giving me the chance, brother. Yes,
Yeah.
anybody else?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karunyakara, sir. Now this forum is open for question answer. So those who want to ask a question, please raise their hands. Yeah, Dr. Kiran Kumre.
Yeah, may I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, very much.
Thank you. Uh, First thing, sir, congratulations. I'm Dr. Kiran Kumre. I'm an assistant professor in Dr. Baba Ambedkar Sidhu Kanumurmu Center for Dalit and Tribal Studies from Mahatma Gandhi International Hindu Vidyalaya. Sir, your lecture is very wonderful and fantastic. And I have one query. Uh, Supreme Court judgment. Supreme Court has come judgment. You know very well. My question
Yes.
is, what is your opinion on
You're
this
talking about,
application with reservation?
okay.
Yes, that is my
See,
question, sir.
uh, theoretically, I see no problem with that because reservation is sort of, it has no end. Ultimately, what we were demanding, or in fact, one point which I forgot to mention, that it was never demanded by Baba Sahab. It was never asked, reservation was never asked by Baba Sahab. It was only through the Poona Pact which was imposed upon us. One thing. But once we accepted it and it got implemented, thing which we ask for ourselves cannot be denied further because reservation is just 15% or 22.5% for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So, because we have seen many people in our groups also, in our say uh, community who uh, are not up to Ambedkarite philosophy. They are not accepting Ambedkarite philosophy, but they are happy with the reservation. So, on this line, I say if not reservation within the reservation to begin with, because we have their intention is at least we should have some kind of a creamy layer in Sri tribes because those families which have got say MPs, MLAs in their family, or those who are having at least we know some of them, and you must be aware, having uh, class 1 officers for few generations now, 2 3 generations. So it should be left by them. Reservation should be not availed by them, and it has to be some kind of a recheck, some kind of a cross check. Because on our own, we are not able to do it, but I would say this is just one technical part. What is important that this fight, reservation within the reservation fight, is not there in Uttar Pradesh. It is there in, say, Bihar, it is there in Andhra Pradesh, it is there in Punjab, it is there in Haryana, but it is not there in Uttar Pradesh. Why it is not there in Uttar Pradesh? It will give us some answer. It will give answer in a sense because when you are in a say power position, you just don't try to grab 22.5. You have 100%, and then just not 22.5, maybe you have other avenues also where you can make your people powerful, empowered, and that way reservation was just, to my mind, is a temporary thing. It cannot be prolonged, it cannot continue forever because and I quote Kasiram Saab here. He says, with the 25 lakhs reserved employees, you can enslave 25 crores. This is what is happening. Because once you are into, say, our own case as professors or teachers, we see our family first. We are not talking about Ambedkarite way we should speak because we understand our own particular interest at the stake. We have come from a background which is very problematic. But if had means our 3 4 generations are there and they are in a good condition, then I should be free from this implication. Once I am free from this implication, then only I can talk. But if my first generation, second generation, third generation is threatened, if I go back now, maybe because I'm the first generation one, if I go back, then the problem will be there. But maybe my daughter or my next generation, they should not take reservation. That is my firm belief on this. it is not a permanent solution.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Yeah, is there any other who want to ask question? Yeah, is there any other who want to ask question?
सर जय भीम सर, मैं डॉक्टर नरेश कुमार साहू छत्तीसगढ़ से बोल रहा हूँ सर।
जी जय भीम नरेश जी।
सर ये मैं पॉलिटिक्स को लेके, दलित पॉलिटिक्स और जो बहुजन पॉलिटिक्स को लेके थोड़ा सा बात करना था आपसे, क्वेश्चन जानना था सर। ये आज के समय में बहुजन समाज पार्टी की स्थिति परफॉर्मेंस के दृष्टिकोण से देखे तो बहुत स्थिति उस तरह से नहीं है जिस तरह से होना चाहिए था। और उसके बाद हम देखते हैं कि आजाद समाज पार्टी का परफॉर्मेंस ठीक ठाक दिख रहा है, और उत्तर प्रदेश में देखते हैं तो समाजवादी पार्टी के स्थिति ठीक ठाक हो रहा है। और लेकिन बहुजन समाज पार्टी का जो परफॉर्मेंस लगातार समय आधार पर गिरता जा रहा है, क्यों गिर रहा है और क्यों आगे की स्थिति दलित पॉलिटिक्स किधर जाए, आजाद समाज पार्टी की ओर जाए कि बहुजन समाज पार्टी की ओर जाए। और बहुत सारे जो दलित वोट है समाजवादी पार्टी की ओर भी जा रहे हैं, उत्तर प्रदेश की बात करें। और देश भर में स्थिति में दलित राजनीति को लेकर थोड़ा सा बात करना, समस्याओं को लेकर जानना चाह रहा था सर।
In fact, when Baba Sahab imposed Poona Pact discussion, in what Congress and Gandhi have done to the untouchables, he himself answered this question what you are saying. Political representation or political power just is not sufficient. We need quality power, independent political power. Independent political power, he says, Baba Sahab ka hai ye pura. He says economic, social, educational transformation that is needed. So by say some mechanism, by some trick, if you are able to win election, 2007 election, society was not ready. The non-political roots, socio-economic roots were not powerful enough. But because there was some kind of a mechanism, Kasiram Sahab was able to mobilize and have winning strategy. Benji also played a very important role. So they were able to grasp the political power, but they were not able to sustain it because there were not sufficient educational, economic, social force to support that. So anybody who is winning political election even today would not sustain it unless there is a equal supporting what we. In fact, Baba Sahab took it from surprise from Machiavelli. He said, mere political power is not enough. Mere constitutional power is not enough. You have to have equal supporting socio-cultural, economic infrastructure within, and then we can have it. So बहुजन समाज पार्टी का जो प्रॉब्लम है अब, वो प्रॉब्लम यही है कि भाई वो कुछ दिन के लिए चलेगा, कोई व्यक्ति भी जो है वो कुछ दिन के लिए चलेगा, हमेशा ब्राह्मणिज्म से सस्टेन नहीं कर सकता अनलेस बराबर से सामने से आप कर दे पाए। कोई तुलना ही नहीं है, रिसोर्सेज को लेकर कोई तुलना नहीं है। और ये है कि भाई जनरली जो मूवमेंट्स होते हैं, इस तरह के रिवोल्यूशनरी मूवमेंट्स होते हैं वर्ल्ड ओवर आप देखेंगे उसमें कि सेकंड थर्ड जनरेशन तक आते, थर्ड जनरेशन तक आते आते तो सब बर्बाद हो जाता है, सेकंड जनरेशन भी उसको सस्टेन नहीं कर पाती है। कोई भी मतलब इवन आप कहीं का भी मूवमेंट देख लीजिए, कोई भी रिवोल्यूशनरी मूवमेंट देख लीजिए, सेकंड जनरेशन उसको सस्टेन नहीं कर पाती है वंचित समाज के लोग हैं उनके अंदर।
जी सर, जी ओके।
Thank you, Naresh sir. Is anyone else who want to ask question?
राजकुमार भाई नमस्कार, जय भीम।
अरे मुनीष जी जय भीम, जय भीम, क्या हाल है?
प्रोफेसर करुणकरा सर, प्रोफेसर मुनेश कुमार, लखनऊ यूनिवर्सिटी से। मैं थोड़ा लेट हुआ और क्योंकि श्रेयत ने मुझे शेयर किया था लिंक, लेकिन मैं सच में भूल गया था, अचानक से याद आया, लेकिन काफी लेक्चर में आपका सुन पाया। और पहले तो मैं बधाई दूंगा प्रोफेसर करुणकरा को कि उन्होंने ये इनिशिएटिव शुरू किया कि हम एक प्लेटफॉर्म पर आकर कम से कम एक कॉमन डिस्कशन से फिर कनेक्ट हो रहे हैं, ऑनलाइन ही सही, फिर ऑफलाइन भी कनेक्ट होंगे। और जो एक दलित कंस्ट्रक्ट ऑफ नॉलेज है या उसका एनालिसिस है, इंटरप्रेशन है, उसमें हम इन्वॉल्व होंगे। मेरा सवाल है थोड़ा सा, होना भी चाहिए, हम लोगों के सबके कंसर्न है, बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डिस्कशन के लिए टॉपिक रखा। और प्रोफेसर राज कुमार जो ना केवल एक एकेडमिक सीएम है इस फील्ड में, बल्कि वो एक्टिविस्ट भी है, तो ये एक और इम्पोर्टेंट इशू हो जाता है कि वो इसको एड्रेस करें। जैसे आज हम लोग देखते हैं, मुझे लगता है कनेक्टिविटी का इशू है आपकी तरफ थोड़ा सा। जैसे आजकल हम जो देखते हैं प्रोफेसर राजकुमार कि जो आइडियोलॉजिकल बैटल यदि हम कहें तो जो बामसेफ और आरएसएस है उसके बीच है आइडियोलॉजिकल बैटल यदि हम देखें। और उस हिसाब से कहीं ऐसा लग रहा है कि आरएसएस आज भी उनके सोशियो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिटिकल जो मूवमेंट है उसको लीड कर रहा है, और बाकी जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट जो है वो आरएसएस के अम्ब्रेला के साथ काम कर रहा है। हम लोगों ने जो 1973 के बाद 78 से जो बामसेफ को हम लोगों ने एक कल्चर जो एक तरह से मूवमेंट का हिस्सा बनाया था, और वो लगभग उसी तरह का काम उसको करना था जैसे आरएसएस कर रही है। लेकिन क्या ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि बीएसपी के मूवमेंट में आने के बाद हमने जो बामसेफ मूवमेंट है उसको अंडरमाइन किया, और शायद उसका इम्पैक्ट ये है कि जो बामसेफ को सोशियो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट में जो लीडरशिप देनी चाहिए थे या एक अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के साथ काम करना चाहिए था, पॉलिटिकली तो हम लोग आगे गए, लेकिन हमने जो एक कल्चरल मूवमेंट था उसको कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया। इसलिए लोगों को लगा कि यदि बीएसपी पॉलिटिक्स में रहती है तो लोग एम्पावर्ड फील करते हैं, लेकिन जो बामसेफ जिस तरीके से कॉम्प्रोमाइज किया तो उसका इम्पैक्ट ऐसे लग रहा है कि हमारा जो सोशियो इकोनॉमिक पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट पर बहुत ज्यादा इफेक्ट कर रहा है। लेकिन आने वाले समय में यदि हमको इस देश में अपना जो सोशल मूवमेंट है या इकोनॉमिक या पॉलिटिकल मूवमेंट है उसको सक्सेस करना है, तो जो आइडियोलॉजिकल जो सपोर्ट है या बैकिंग जो है वो बामसेफ जैसे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से ही होनी चाहिए थी, जो बहुजनों की बात करें, बहुजन पॉलिटिक्स की बात करें, बहुजन इकोनॉमी की बात करें, बहुजन नॉलेज की बात करें, बहुजन इंस्टीट्यूशंस की बात करें। क्योंकि पॉलिटिक्स में हमने जिस तरह से करा, जैसे आप देखें कि बहन जी की सरकार में जो 2007 से 12 के बीच में वो मेजोरिटी की सरकार रही और बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन खड़े हुए। गौतम बुद्धा यूनिवर्सिटी खड़ी होती है जिसको हम देख रहे हैं कि वो बुद्धिस्ट वैल्यूज के लिए डेडिकेटेड यूनिवर्सिटी डेवलप होनी थी, लेकिन उसका जो फर्स्ट फाउंडर वाइस चांसलर है वो इस तरह के आदमी को बनाया गया, निर्जल को, जिसका बुद्धिस्ट वैल्यूज या जो विजन था उसमें कोई भी उसकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं थी। तो जब वो इंस्टीट्यूशन, बिल्डिंग तो बन गई, लेकिन उस इंस्टीट्यूशन को जो एक तरह से खड़ा होना था बुद्धिस्ट वैल्यूज के लिए, उस तरीके से वो खड़ी नहीं हो पाई, और मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूशंस के साथ इसी तरह का हुआ। तो ये जो गैप है, इस गैप को हम किस तरह से फिलअप करेंगे सर, इस पे थोड़े से रिफ्लेक्शंस मैं आपके चाहूंगा प्लीज।
जी मुनीष जी, बहुत ही फाउंडेशनल बात आप कह रहे हैं, और ये यही वो सवाल है जो हम सबको परेशान किए जा रहा है। लेकिन जैसे बाबा साहब ने ही इस बात को कहा कि भाई थिंग्स विच आर सेटल्ड रॉन्गली विल बी अनसेटल्ड, और इसमें एक हमारे बड़े फिलोसफर हुए हैं हीगल साहब, वो कहते हैं कि भाई गति का जो चक्र है उसको कोई रोक नहीं सकता है, उसको कोई रोक नहीं सकता है। और कोई चीज अगर अचानक हमें मिलती है, तो जैसे कि इसको उदाहरण से समझे कि 1950 में हमें अचानक संविधान मिला, लेकिन वो संवैधानिक नैतिकता नहीं थी हमारे पास, इसलिए हम संविधान को चला नहीं पा रहे हैं पिछले 70-75 साल से उस तरीके से। सो अभी हम लगभग उसी तरह की स्थिति में जो 1950 डेमोक्रेसी नहीं कर रही। तो आज जो एक छल कूद जो हो जाती है बीच बीच में कुछ व्यक्तियों की वजह से, कुछ ओवर एंथुजियास्टिक जो लोग हमारे हैं या कुछ ज्यादा समझदार साथी हैं या ज्यादा मेहनत कर लेते हैं, वो अपना एक एग्जाम्पल सेट कर लेते हैं, वो चीज जो है आपकी सस्टेन नहीं की जा सकती। Through extraordinary sacrifices, through extraordinary strategy, through extraordinary mechanism, say Kaziram Sahab was able to establish something, whether Vamsafe or BSP. But society was really not ready at that point of time. Therefore, वो गैप रहा बहुत लंबा चौड़ा सोसाइटी में और उस सोच के अंदर, और वो फिर क्रम्बल कर गया, वो खत्म होता गया, नीचे आता गया। फिर जो हमारा जो अब कंसर्न है कि इसको कैसे किया जाए, अभी पिछले 15-20 साल से अगर हम देख रहे हैं तो मुनीष जी इस बात को आप ताकीद करेंगे कि सोसाइटी के लेवल पे कॉन्शियसनेस का लेवल मेरे हिसाब से बढ़ा है, लोगों के अंदर जागरूकता बढ़ी है, लेकिन उसका कलेक्टिव मैनिफेस्टेशन नहीं हो पा रहा है। कलेक्टिव मैनिफेस्टेशन नहीं हो पा रहा है, उसको हम गैल्वनाइज नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, और देयरफॉर इम्पैक्ट भी जो है वो पर्सनल तो है भाई। आज कम से कम आज 1 लाख लोग, मतलब करुणाकरा साहब पूरे देश में 2.5 लाख प्रोफेसर हैं शेड्यूल कास्ट, 2.5 शेड्यूल कास्ट,
ग्रेट नंबर।
yes, 70,000 tribals, around 3 lakhs OBCs, ये कुल मिला के 6 लाख के आसपास आ रहा तीनों का। इट्स अ वेरी ह्यूज नंबर।
यस, ट्रू ट्रू ट्रू।
वी हैव ये बिकॉज असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर्स हैं, कुछ एसोसिएट हैं, कुछ प्रोफेसर्स भी हैं। सो ये जो 7 लाख या 6 lakhs आप मान लीजिए, इट इंक्लूड्स बोथ प्राइवेट एंड, हमारे ज्यादातर पब्लिक में ही है, प्राइवेट में कम है। अभी जो 16 लाख है पूरे देश के अंदर नंबर, उस 16 लाख में हमारे 7 लाख के आसपास हैं, जो कि काफी सब्सटेंशियल है। 1 लाख के आसपास क्लास 1 ऑफिसर है इस समय, क्लास 1 1 लाख के आसपास, जो 2.5-3 लाख रुपए महीने की वो ले रहा है। और 1 करोड़ लोग हैं गवर्नमेंट जॉब में या रिटायर्ड। 1 करोड़ रिटायर्ड है, 1 करोड़ गवर्नमेंट जॉब्स में है, सेंट्रल एंड स्टेट की बोथ। तो ये जो पर्सनल लेवल पे है मुकेश जी, बहुत जबरदस्त है। इसको इकट्ठा करने की जो हमारी एक ये चिंता है, वो चिंता इस वजह से थोड़ी सी बढ़ती जाती है कि सही बात तो ये है कि आज जो ये बड़ा, जिसको जो मैं कह रहा था कि सेकंड वेव ऑफ संस्कृताइजेशन और ब्राह्मणाइजेशन हो रहा है, ये जो तबका है ये उस तरफ जा रहा है। एक्चुअली इसमें से ज्यादा बड़ी संख्या में उस तरफ जा रहा है, उनसे वैलिडिटी लेने का प्रयास कर रहा है, उनसे सैंक्टिटी लेने का प्रयास कर रहा है। अदरवाइज इसमें से अगर मान लिया 2-4-5%, हम जैसे आप जैसे साथी हैं भी 2-4-5-7% ही, इससे ज्यादा नहीं है, तो वो फोर्स नहीं बन पा रही है। उसकी कुछ पॉलिटिक्स में कोई खास इंपॉर्टेंस भी नहीं है फिर उसकी उस तरीके से, क्योंकि हमारे अपने आप कुछ अलग प्लेटफॉर्म की सोचते हैं, मैं अलग प्लेटफॉर्म की सोचता हूँ, करुणाकारा साहब तीसरे प्लेटफॉर्म की सोचते हैं, कुछ फोर्थ की सोचते हैं। तो हमारी अपनी यूनिफाइड एक स्ट्रेंथ नहीं बन पा रही है, ये नहीं बन पा रहा। तो हम कम से कम जो प्रोसेस है, इस प्रोसेस में और कुछ नहीं कर सकते। अगर भाई मेरा आपसे कन्फ्रंटेशन क्यों होगा, सपोज होगा बाई चांस ये होगा कि आप कहें कि भाई ए ग्रुप अच्छा है, मैं कहूँ बी ग्रुप अच्छा है, ठीक है, तो भाई ए और बी की हम बात ना करें, हम लोग जो है ए फॉर अम्बेडकर की बात कर ले, उस पे तो कन्फ्रंटेशन नहीं हो सकता है ना, है हम पी फॉर फूले की बात कर ले, उस पे तो कन्फ्रंटेशन नहीं है। अगर वहां पे तो फिर हम और आप साथ नहीं चल सकते। तो ये जो हमारा जो इंटेलेक्चुअल क्लास है, जिसको आप कह रहे हैं कि भाई वामसेव जैसा ग्रुप बनाएगा या वामसेव जैसा ग्रुप जो है वो डेवलप हो या उनको कर पाएगा, ये किसी पॉलिटिकल लीडर के बस की नहीं आएगा। और जिससे आप कह रहे हैं कि हमारा कन्फ्रंटेशन है, दैट इज नॉट क्रिएटेड बाय इंडिविजुअल्स अलोन, और दैट इज नॉट क्रिएटेड बाय एनी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी। और उनको 5-6 साल तक तो उनको नाम नहीं पता था अपना ग्रुप का नाम क्या, उनको पता नहीं था जी। पहले अखाड़े में शुरू किया, अखाड़े में लड़ते थे, और वो बाद में 1930 के आसपास नाम क्लियर किया इन्होंने कि आरएसएस का नाम रखेंगे। सो वहां पे कोई किसी को जानता हो ना जानता हो, आई एम 100% श्योर कि भाई चंद्रशेखर को देश में ज्यादा लोग जानते हैं बाय नेम than Mohan Bhagwat. आप मानेंगे इस बात को, नहीं मानेंगे? बस यही फर्क है.
नहीं, एकदम सही, एकदम सही.
क्यों? क्योंकि वहां पे व्यक्ति बिल्कुल भी इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. मुझे तो 4 दिन लोग जानने लगे तो मुझे तो तुरंत ही रिप्लेस करना है, मुझे तो तुरंत ही अध्यक्ष बनना है, प्रवक्ता बनना है, मुझे तुरंत ही कुछ ऐसा काम करना है. 3-4 मेरे वायरल क्या हो गए, बस मैं फिर टॉप पे बन गया हूं. तो ये जो हमारा सो कॉल्ड इंटेलेक्चुअल एक्टिविज्म है, उसने ये ध्वस्त कर दिया इस सारे के सारे उसको. हमें एक चीज बस हम कर सकते हैं कि भाई जब हमें कन्फ्रंटेशन हो रहा है, हमें आप एक दूसरे से कंपटीशन है मान लिया, तो उस कंपटीशन को पकड़ें क्यों? हम अम्बेडकराइट फिलोसफी को क्यों ना पकड़ें, हम फुले की फिलोसफी को क्यों ना पकड़ें, हम जो है काशीराम साहब की फिलोसफी को क्यों ना पकड़ें? हम उस चीज को पकड़ें जहां पे हमारा किसी तरह का एक दूसरे के साथ कंपटीशन नहीं है. और वहां पे मैं चाहता हूं कि वी हैव टू बी 100% ऑनेस्ट. क्योंकि इन फिलोसफी, इन आइडियाज, देयर शुड बी नो एडल्ट्रेशन. भाई प्रैक्टिकल प्रैग्मेटिक पॉलिटिक्स में तो आप जो चाहें वो करते हैं, लेकिन आइडियोलॉजी के बेसिस पे यू कैन नॉट हैव एनी एडल्ट्रेशन. वो हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. उसका हो सकता है मैं भी इसका जो है दोषी हूं, लेकिन हमें अपनी विचारधारा को 100% रखना चाहिए. भाई उन्होंने मान लिया सर्वजन कहा, maybe they have their own political compulsions. A person or a political party may have political compulsions, but why should I say such? I have never used it. I have never agreed upon it, even though I support the political dispensation. बट वो मुझे पसंद नहीं है, ना मैं उसको फॉलो करता हूँ. तो ये जो जिनको मान लिया जाना ही नहीं है उधर, पार्टी से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, पॉलिटिक्स से कुछ लेना देना नहीं है, तो वो तो इसको बहुजन को पकड़ के रख सकते हैं ना, वो तो अम्बेडकरिज्म को पकड़ के रख सकते हैं, लेकिन वो भी नहीं कर रहे हैं. यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है. जब 10-20 और ये एक हमारी थोड़ी सी मैं कहूँगा गलत समझ है कि भाई ये 100 साल पुराना नहीं है, इनका कम से कम 200 साल पुराना है. दे स्टार्टेड विद 1830s. 1830s में शुरू होता है राजा राम मोहन राय और बाकी सारे उनके साथ. तब आके ये 100 साल का वहां पे काम होता है और फिर 100 साल में ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को बनाते हैं. पहले वो अपने विचार को बनाते हैं, ठीक ठाक अपने में थोड़ा बहुत सुधार करने का प्रयास करते हैं, मिलने जुलने का प्रयास करते हैं, और फिर चीजें होती हैं. मे भी जो हमारा जो इंटेलेक्चुअल इनिशिएटिव है उसको ये काम करना चाहिए कि भाई जिनको पॉलिटिक्स करनी है करें, जिनको एक्टिविज्म करना है करें, लेकिन एट द realm of ideas there has to be no adulteration. यहाँ पे प्योर बात करेंगे हम. जिनको प्रैक्टिस करनी है भैया वो करते रहो, जो कोई बात नहीं है. आप इसमें आप जैसे एक पार्था चटर्जी एक साथी है जो पॉलिटिकल साइंस का है, उसने ब्राह्मणिज्म पे लिखा अच्छा खासा. इनका आइडियोलॉग है, वो बहुत बड़ा आइडियोलॉग है. वो हालांकि लिबरल माना जाता है, लेकिन है वो खांटी ब्राह्मणवादी. उसने लिखा नेशनलिज्म को लेते हुए, ब्राह्मणिकल नेशनलिज्म को लेते हुए, कि भाई जब महिलाएं जो है वो कोर है ब्राह्मणिकल नेशनलिज्म का, और पुरुष जो है वो उसकी सतह है. तो वो महिलाएं जो है रत्ती भर कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करती हैं, पुरुष जो है कॉम्प्रोमाइज करता फिरता है, इधर उधर जाता है, क्योंकि उसे तो पॉलिटिक्स करनी है, अंग्रेजों से लड़ना, तो वो जो चाहे वो कर लेगा, कुछ भी चाहे वो कर ले, लेकिन यह नहीं करना. तो जो कल्चरल नेशनलिज्म का कंसेप्ट है उसको हम इसी तरीके से कर सकते हैं कि भाई हमारा जो इंटेलेक्चुअल है उसको तो कॉम्प्रोमाइज करने की जरूरत नहीं चाहिए, वो ना करे कॉम्प्रोमाइज. लेकिन हम अभी उस लेवल पे नहीं पहुंच पा रहे हैं, इसलिए जो रॉन्गली सेटल्ड है उनको रीसेटल्ड तो करना पड़ेगा. अगर हम नहीं कर पाएंगे तो हमारी आने वाली जनरेशन करेगी.
थैंक यू सर. थैंक यू. प्रोफेसर एनके मौर्य सर, आपको क्वेश्चन पूछना है शायद.
जी मौर्य साहब.
Yeah, oh yes, Raj Kumar, it was nice to hear you.
Thank you.
And you have already you have indicated some bullet points. They are well, but then this argument would be very long. Because this issue of
yes.
This acceptance and non-acceptance, I think the fundamental issue is of a leadership. The most critical and fundamental issue is of leadership to the society. And it is something like this, that even if there was a very good stage decorated and the audience was waiting and the artists were also there, but the director did not come, So it is the show like this that the audience is waiting for a director to direct the players, and that is how the issue of leadership is all about. You see,
Mm-hmm.
so whether it is ideological or in the present situation, it is even more complex. What
Mm.
kind of
Yes.
ideology you can talk in the dispensation where the democracy itself is breathing its last. You see, the organs of democracy are
Yes.
breathing last. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I firmly agree with you what you said. What Munish also has apprehension. I think we have
Mm.
again. It's like a 1947. Maybe Jawaharlal Nehru said tryst with the destiny. I think the
Mm-hmm.
society, Dalit Bahujans have to have their another tryst with their destiny so that they can resurrect not only their ideas but they can take back the glory that they had in the history. You see, and the fundamental carrier for that is the leader. Which is a crisis. Which is a major crisis, and that is what I wanted to meaning impress upon you. That is it is where you guys can really take forward this particular critical point of our society. This is what I want you guys to do it.
Yes, brother. Actually, it is here that intellectual leadership, just whatever you're saying, we say the intellectual leadership can fill in actually. Let the others do whatever they are doing. Because at the mass level, teachers or the professors or those who have some kind of a knowledge, they can play this role very well. And maybe this politics will come much, much later.
Uh, so I also want to ask one question to you. It is related to the democracy. I am reading Dr. Ambedkar's
Okay.
writing on democracy, and
76.
you also talked about
76.
just constitutional morality.
Ah.
So I just want to just brief introduction of this constitutional morality. How can we can engage with it?
See, this is something, as Baba Sahib himself was very clear on this. It has to be created. It is never given. And it has to be created on basis of what? It has to be created on the basis of which we call say humility or kind of system we are having now. Uh, uh, just sorry, actually, yes. So this system of constitutional morality was being proposed by Baba Sahib also has to be on the basis of three principles, nothing else. It's equality, liberty, and democracy. Equality, liberty, and democracy because you have your own problems. I have my own problems. You have your own ideology. I have my own ideology. But Constitution recognizes us as single unit. And that way, political parties or political dispensations who come to political power, they have this basic responsibility to uphold constitution. If they are upholding constitution, then fine. But kind of problems we are facing right now, which Professor More was actually highlighting, and you also say democracy at the verge of collapse. So, because this is something which is being done deliberately and therefore uh, we have to create a counter ideological onslaught which is based on rationality, which is based on humanism, nothing else. There is no other way around. And some of us actually have to play exemplary roles so that others, those who maybe are afraid or who have some kind of inhibition, should come out and others feel, okay, we can do it, something like that. Because in the time of crisis, it is the leadership, whether it is intellectual leadership or political leadership, which plays a very important role. And in these times which we are in, we need we need important examples, motivating examples. Yes, Vijay.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So now we are now out of the time, and I think there is no other questions.
Yeah, please.
So with
No, Shreyat want to ask a question, I think, and Kiran also want one more question. Find out.
sir, Kiran, okay, Kiran ma'am, you want to ask question?
No, 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 Akash, no. I have
Yeah,
already.
please,
एक प्रश्न है आकाश आकाश
yes, sir, Rakesh sir.
मैं राकेश फकियाल सहायक प्रोफेसर दलित एंड ट्राइबल स्टडीज महात्मा गांधी अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हिंदी सर मेरा प्रश्न एक जिज्ञासा है कि जो पूना पैक्ट में जो कभी बात करते हैं हम सुनते हैं पूना पैक्ट में कम्युनल अवार्ड का घोषणा हुआ था और उसमें फिर उसके बाद उसमें गांधी जी उसमें अनशन में बैठ के वो चीज सॉल्व नहीं हो पाता है। अक्सर हम ये बातें सुनते हैं आपस में कि जो अगर कम्युनल अवार्ड उनको मिलता हो दलितों को जो वोट का अधिकार मिल गया होता तो बहुजन समाज का जो आज की जो स्थिति है या आज शायद स्थिति बन तो सर मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था जैसे कि आज बहुजन समाज पार्टी उसके बावजूद भी हम SC OBC या बहुजन समाज एक रूप में नहीं आते हैं तो क्या सर अगर पूना पैक्ट में वो अधिकार मिल गया होता लागू हो गया होता तो क्या सर स्थिति बदल गई होती या क्या क्या स्थिति होती तो इस पे सर अगर आप कोई बता सके हैं तो सर वही जानना चाह रहा था धन्यवाद सर।
देखिए बहुत हाइपोथेटिकल है और लगभग 100 साल उस चीज को हो रहे हैं कि क्या रहा होता, लेकिन हाँ ये क्लियर है कि भाई एक इंडिपेंडेंट पॉलिटिकल फोर्स उससे डेवलप होता है अनटचेबल्स एंड ट्राइबल्स का, और इनकी बात भी कम से कम 1/4 ताकत इनके पास आती, रिसोर्सेज की बात हो चाहे वो प्रोमिनेंस की बात हो। अभी हम लोग जो है सिर्फ नाम मात्र के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स अपने भेज पा रहे हैं, तो अगर वो चीज होती तो फिर मतलब सिचुएशन उस तरह की थी कि बाबा साहब कुड हैव sort of say in a better position to negotiate। लेकिन आप जानते हैं कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली में जब बातचीत हुई तो वहां पे इकोनॉमिक राइट्स नहीं हो पाए, वहां पे सोशल राइट्स नहीं हो पाए। आर्टिकल 17 हुआ लेकिन आर्टिकल 17 का तो आप देख रहे हैं ना किस तरीके से हो पाया। तो जो इकोनॉमिक इक्वलिटी या इकोनॉमिक फ्रीडम मिलनी चाहिए थी वो इंश्योर की जा सकती थी। इवन कास्ट को खत्म नहीं कर पाए, अनटचेबिलिटी खत्म करने का प्रॉमिस जरूर किया गया लेकिन कास्ट को खत्म नहीं कर पाए। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि वो बेटर प्रोपोजिशन हो सकती थी, लेकिन अब जितना पिछले 80-90 साल में चीजें हुई हैं उसमें हमें वापस उस पर जाने की जरूरत नहीं है। अब हमें एक बहुजन कंसोलिडेशन की जरूरत है और हमें 22% नहीं चाहिए, हमें पूरा चाहिए जिसमें अमित राइट फिलोसफी के साथ जो है आप मूवमेंट आगे बढ़ाएं और जो SC ST OBC माइनॉरिटीज हैं उनको साथ लेके चलें। ओके
या श्रेयत प्लीज आप क्वेश्चन पूछिए।
जय भीम सर।
हाय जय भीम श्रेयत।
सर मैं ये पूछना चाहता हूँ कि जैसे अभी पॉलिटिक्स चल रही है कि जैसे कि रिजर्व सीटें हैं MP और MLA के लिए, तो वो डिफरेंट पार्टीज अपने कैंडिडेट खड़े कर रही हैं। तो मैं जानना चाहता हूँ कि जो कम्युनल अवार्ड के थ्रू डबल वोट राइट्स मिला था वो तो एक अपने उस पर थोड़ा सा बात कर दीजिए। और दूसरा ये कि अगर अगर वो जीतने के बाद सिर्फ अगर उनको कोई दूसरा दल जो है उनको उनको अपने में मिला ले, या मतलब वो उनके साथ चले जाए, तो फिर कैसे दलित बात होगी?
कैसे?
कहने का मतलब ये कि अगर जो भी 50, 60, 70 एमएलए या एमपी जो भी हैं, उनको कोई पार्टी अपने अपने में कर ले कि आप हम सरकार में रखेंगे, तो फिर तो वही बात बन जाती है। आप या फिर उस पर कोई मैं ये भी जानना चाहता हूँ सर, क्या पूना पैक्ट का कोई ड्राफ्ट बन गया था कि ड्राफ्ट बनना था?
पूना पैक्ट का
और सर
ड्राफ्ट?
कोई बुक रिकमेंड कर दीजिएगा पढ़ने के लिए अगर कोई हो, तो जिसपे कोई ये सब जानकारी मिल सके पूरी पूना पैक्ट की। थैंक यू सर।
देखिए, ये जो सेकंड वोट वाला जो आप पूछ रहे हैं, बाबा साहब ने उसको भी माना कि ये ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है, क्योंकि उसमें दूसरे लोग आपके पास आएंगे, दे वांट योर वोट, दे नीड योर वोट, तो फिर वो आपके जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनके बारे में भी कुछ ना कुछ रखेंगे, कुछ ना कुछ उस तरह की उनकी मजबूरी हो जाएगी। अभी जैसे हमारा व्यक्ति दूसरों के पास जा रहा वोट मांगने के लिए, ऐसे ही दूसरे वाले आपके पास आएंगे कि भाई हमें आपका वोट चाहिए। ये जनरल लोग तो अभी आपके पास आ नहीं रहे, जोर नहीं रहे, क्योंकि रिजर्व कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में है तो आप रिजर्व कर रहे हैं। जो जहां पे रिजर्व कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में नहीं है वहां पे सबके साथ बह जाते हैं इसी तरीके से। तो ये सिचुएशन है। दूसरी बात कि भाई जब लोग जीत जाते हैं, कुछ जीत जाते हैं और दूसरी पार्टी मिला लेती है, तो ये तो ऑलमोस्ट लूट है। इसको आप पॉलिटिकल प्लंडरिंग कह सकते हैं, जिसमें जो कमजोर लोग हैं उनकी सारी की सारी ताकत जो है वो ऐसी चली जा रही है। खासतौर पे बीएसपी का देख रहे हैं, राजस्थान में, मध्य प्रदेश में या बिहार में हर बार ऐसा ही होता है कि लोग जीते हैं, 2 4 से जीते हैं, वो चले जाते हैं। वो इसी वजह से जीते हैं कि भाई अब जो लोग आ रहे हैं ये लोग अलग मैकेनिज्म से आए हैं और इनको लग रहा है कि भाई यहाँ की सत्ता में आने का चांसेस है नहीं, तो कुछ है उसी को अपना बढ़ा लें। और दूसरी पार्टियां जैसे दिग्विजय सिंह है, उसने मध्य प्रदेश में बहुत बड़ा नुकसान बीएसपी को किया, स्टार्टिंग से पूरा उसको ध्वस्त किया। तो हर जगह गहलोत ने, सब सारे मतलब किसकी जगह कहेंगे, कोई वही नहीं है। ये चीजें जो है आपकी तब तक होती रहेंगी जब तक आप पावर में आने का आपका चांस नहीं होगा। पूरे देश के अंदर बीजेपी पावर में आ रही, जहां जहां आ रही है वहां पे कांग्रेस सारी शिफ्ट हो गई बीजेपी के अंदर। आप देखेंगे कि भाई जिन प्रदेशों में भी कांग्रेस नहीं है वहां पे कांग्रेस भी नहीं है। तो ये सॉरी, जहां पे बीजेपी है वहां पे कांग्रेस की लगभग हर जगह स्थिति खत्म हो गई है, क्योंकि वो सारे के सारे लोग यहाँ पे आ रहे हैं। तो इसमें किताब का जहां तक बात है, वो हमारे मुंडू साहब है, उनकी अच्छी किताब है इस पे, राजशेखर मुंडू, उन्होंने ठीक ठाक लिखा हुआ है, उस किताब को पढ़ लीजिए। उसमें ज्यादातर चीजें इसी एंगल से जो बात हुई।
ओके, थैंक यू सर।
ओके,
Yeah. Is there any other question?
वी हैव टू वाइंड अप, मतलब
Yeah. Yes, sir. Karunyakara sir.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. With the permission of the chair, I request Shashikant Bharati to please give vote of thanks.
Thank you. The lecture on the Poona Pact delivered by Professor Raj Kumar sir today holds profound significance from both academic and social perspectives. And I am certain that while listening to his lecture, your imagination must have soared back to the pivotal era in history. We express our heartfelt gratitude to our Professor Raj Kumar sir for his insightful and engaging lecture on the Poona Pact. We also extend our sincere thanks to Professor Karunyakara sir, the founder of KIDK, for chairing the event with grace and wisdom. Furthermore, we are deeply grateful to all of the participants who joined the session, contributing to its success. Your presence and engagement made this academic gathering truly meaningful. Thank you, Jai Hind.
thank you very much. Thank you everybody for listening.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj Kumar. Thank you very much. Yeah, take care. Take care. Bye.
So this whole lecture is recorded and already streamed on YouTube. If anyone miss anything or want to listen this lecture again, please go and check out on Karunyakara Institute of Dalit College YouTube channel. So that's all. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care. We will meet soon again with a new person with a new lecture. Thank you.